So today we're going to go over something that I call the time compression method or the time compression sequence, which essentially is going to force the AI to reveal expert thinking, but in kind of a unique way. But before we start, I just want to mention I am not an AI expert. I don't claim to be. I'm just some dude that has been using AI for several years now. And these are the things that I've found that are working for me and I'm sharing with you. So with that being said, this is just what I want to kind of explain and show you how I came up with this. So first, most people are using AI by asking for answers. And you've heard things like this before: act like an expert, explain this, give me the best strategy. In fact, you've heard me talk about things like this on this channel before if you've seen any of my content. And usually the answers are fine. Obviously, it depends on the amount of constraints and things that you give it, but they can also be kind of generic, right? So today I want to show you a method that makes the output sharper. It's going to be more layered and more useful. And it's not going to be by making the AI smarter. It's forcing it to actually reveal how expert thinking is actually different. And that's why I call it the time compression sequence or the time compression method, whichever one you want to call it, right? So what I want to do real quick is just give you a little bit of explanation first before we get into the prompt sequence so you understand exactly how this works and why this works for the most part. So let's get into it. So first, why does AI feel so generic? This is the core issue. When we prompt AI, we usually ask for information, but we don't force a viewpoint in most situations. So the model gives us a balanced, average, surface level answer. There's no tension, there's no contrast, there's no prioritization, and that's why it feels generic. Because expertise is not just better information, it's different priorities. Right? So the shift, what I really want you to kind of think about, instead of saying act like an expert with some of your constraints and all that kind of stuff, another way to go at it is ask it to show you the difference between beginner thinking and expert thinking. And that one change forces structure because you're not asking it to be smart. You're asking it to reveal how thinking changes over time. And that's really the key. See, what's actually happening is this. So just to kind of clear this up, the AI is not learning. It's not gaining experience mid-conversation. It's not improving over time. What it's doing is modeling progression. And it's seen millions of examples of beginner writing and expert writing. So when you introduce this in stages, it compresses that pattern into a single response. And that compression is what creates the depth that we're looking for. And this is basically why the contrast works. When you force the contrast, something interesting actually happens. You start to see what actually changes between levels. See, beginners focus on effort, but a lot of times experts are going to focus on leverage. Beginners try everything, but experts reduce it to variables. Beginners collect tactics. Experts simplify around those mechanisms, I guess. And that's what this method extracts. Not just better wording, it's going to be completely better structure, right? So this is the actual sequence, right? This is what we're going to be doing. First, step one, we're going to basically tell the AI to write as someone who only understands surface level principles about whatever topic it is. And you want it to keep it realistic. Now, I'm going to provide you the prompts. I'll probably give some kind of like a Notion doc or something like that, and I'll list that in the description so you'll be able to utilize these prompts, right? So that's the first prompt. That's the first step as well. Now, the second prompt, the second step is now rewrite the exact same content as someone who deeply understands the core mechanisms of your topic. Focus on leverage points and trade-offs. And then the third step, or the third part of the sequence and the prompt would be, and this would be separate. You would do these as separate prompts. You get the result, then you do prompt two, then you do this prompt last. List the conceptual shifts between the two versions. Be specific about what changed in priorities, assumptions, focus, and decision-making. And this third step is really the gold, because without it, it's just kind of like role play, right? You're just chatting at that point, just to chat. But with this, you extract the actual mental model, right? So there's also like an advanced version of this, which is simple, which is just this prompt. Map the cognitive evolution from novice to expert in the topic. Describe how thinking changes at each step. Then answer clearly. What does the novice overestimate? What does the expert deliberately ignore? What assumptions disappear over time? What trade-offs become visible at the expert level? And what becomes simpler once the core mechanics are understood? Focus on structural differences in thinking, not personality traits or confidence levels. Now you're extracting structural differences in the AI's thinking. So to give you an example, we'll just talk about YouTube growth, right? So beginner thinking might sound something like this. Here's the information that it might give you, a beginner. Post consistently, improve your thumbnails, be authentic, work hard. Eventually, the algorithm will reward you. And technically, none of that is wrong information. It's actually true, but it's a bit vague. It's effort-based advice, I guess you can say. Now, if you were to ask an expert, expert thinking sounds quite a bit different, right? So the expert result would say something like, growth mostly comes down to packaging and retention. Packaging means one clear curiosity gap in the title and thumbnail. Retention means designing the first 30 seconds intentionally. Open a loop. Start payoff quickly. Introduce the next question. Instead of posting consistently, you run experiments. You can use the same topic, different packaging, same packaging, different hook, and then you track patterns. That's leverage-based thinking. Now, what changed? The beginner focused on effort, right? But the expert focused on mechanisms. The beginner collected tactics, the expert identifies levers. The beginner tries more, the expert simplifies. The contrast is the actual insight. So when do you actually use this? You use it when the AI feels generic, when you want a deeper understanding, when you're building something important, when you want sharper thinking. Don't use it for quick factual answers. This is more of a structural clarity tool, I guess you can say. So the next time that you're about to type act like an expert, which I know I've taught this before, and I've taught this on this, and you've probably heard this a bunch of times. I want you to try this instead. Instead of act like an expert, try this. Write it like a beginner. Write it like an expert. Then show me what changed. That's the time compression sequence. It doesn't train AI, it forces clarity. And once you start using it, the output stops feeling generic and starts actually feeling intentional. So with all that being said, I hope you go out and try this. Just use it. I'll include the prompts, the sequence in a Notion doc, so you'll be able to copy and paste it. Obviously, just change your topic of what you want to use. But other than that, you should be able to use this pretty straightforward. I'll explain it also in that Notion doc. But I hope this helped. Please let me know what you think in the comments. And other than that, this is Craig. I will see you in the next video. Take care and keep rocking. Bye-bye.